opinion.
Rachel, good.
So to start, Lance, I do have to start with you because you had every nerd's dream moment in this episode, and you really got to kind of live out that, oh my gosh, I'm doing the thing I've always wanted to do with the actor who did it from when I was growing up. And so I wanted to know for you, what is that nerdy thing that like you would have that moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually getting to do this.
Oh, I mean, growing up, being a sports fan, it would obviously be probably playing 21 against Jordan, that would be this surreal moment that I would want, but I wouldn't want at the same time. I don't want them problems, but I want them problems. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, growing up with Hook, it was 91 and I'm a young boy watching and then going to high school, which I've told before that I went to high school with his cousin and his cousin was like, yo, my cousin is Rufio. I'm like, bro, you cat and you wolf. And you're like, no, he's not your cousin. And then when we found out that he was going to be the role, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to ask him right when I see him. Is Alex your cousin? And he's like, that is my cousin. I'm like, there we go. And so that was kind of like my intro to him. And then we go right into our fighting and then practicing that. And it really came full circle. And it was a nice bud on this ancient myth I had in high school from this lie that I thought his cousin.
Some urban legends are true. Some urban legends might be true.
Exactly.
Like Alex being your cousin.
Yes.
I do. So Dante, I do have to say, like, Hook for me feels just so kind of ingrained, I think, in especially people around my age. I admittedly am a month and 3 days older than Hook. So I
Okay.
watched Hook a couple years later, but it is something that like my brothers were obsessed with. I became obsessed with, and it is a millennial almost rite of passage to kind of fall in love with that movie. And when you are doing things like this, that is, it's not poking fun. You are Rufio. We all love him and know him, but it is kind of like you're playing yourself. You're playing this heightened versions of yourself where everyone is still being like, that's Rufio though. Is that fun for you to kind of get to mess around with who people think you are as a person while hitting that nostalgia at the same time?
Definitely. Definitely. I said it before too. It's like, I've been Rufio longer in my life than I've not been Rufio, which is crazy. Yeah. And it's a very surreal thing to kind of get to a place in your life, in your career, where like people revere certain characters. They're larger than you, Rufio or Prince Zuko for the Avatar fans, and then or even being Dante Basco within the Filipino community in America. It's weird to go like it's a strange thing to go that is something else. So when you meet people that want to pay homage to it, but especially amazing artists like Raphael and David and Jess, I'm game to work with great artists, but also I understand, like I meet folks like you and I get to I'm engaged online and I get to do Comic Cons all over the world. And you see the special thing that we do as actors and as filmmakers, as storytellers, like the stories we tell, some of these stories and some of these characters become part of the fabric of people's lives. And that's magical. It's utterly magical to go like, someone's like, I grew up with you, like serious. And it's a wild, weird thing that like when you think about it later on, like, wow, like I've been in your living room with your family hanging out. You guys have been playing Lost Boys and Rufio and Captain Hook. And, it's strange to think that, that you have a part like that. So when when the right opportunities come up with the right artists and they want to do something in a very cool way, and we get to, do nostalgia from something in my career, but also get to represent for my community, being Filipino American, and represent for the Filipino community here and in Hollywood. I jumped at the chance and of course jumped at the chance to work with Rafa and David.
And it is so nice to see kind of Jackie's family and get to meet them, because like Jackie is going through her own kind of deal separate from this story with Trish and their relationship, even though I don't know that Jackie is necessarily aware of what's going on. But I do think it's so nice to kind of have this almost like it's not, no one knows what a bubble episode is anymore, and it's not that, but it is kind of just like this separate thing happening that is so funny and sweet. And then when we get to tie in to the Trish stuff at the end, it's like, oh right, they kind of are going back and forth. For you, April, though, how is it kind of getting to explore this side of Jackie's life with, because we've only ever seen kind of her connection to Trish, and now we're getting to explore her more.
Yeah. So I want to touch into two things. One is, like you said, I don't think Jackie is completely aware of how everything is coming across. Like, she's in her mid-20s. I think it's very serious what Jackie has with Cuddy, so much so that she's introducing him to her family. And I think she's discovering all of these new emotions, that she's never known a love like this before. And she's never fought for any other boyfriend before, which she didn't realize until Dante brings it up after the fight scene. But when I watched the episode, I was even like so amazed at Jalen's performance as Trish, because even me as April and as Jackie was not aware that Trish was so like heartbroken. I think her riding the roller coaster and just being completely not there and just completely in her thoughts, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that like there was that much love. But of course, like between Jackie and Trish, there is that wifedom, which is sacred. There's that sisterhood. As best friends, as business partners, they've trusted each other with so much. And so I think Jackie's just in the middle of it, not knowing how to make everyone happy. But in no way is her love for Trish any less than what it was. It's just an added universe. And also, the second thing I wanted to bring up was Jackie's exploration, or the show's exploration of Jackie's life. I'm so grateful because in mainstream media, in music and in television and in films, like all over the past decades, Asians were, especially Asian women, were kind of always just hypersexualized in the songs you hear and so many things. And so what I love what they did with Jackie in more so the second season is they brought the human side behind the profession. And I think not only is that a celebration for Asian Americans and Filipino Americans to be able to show this other side that we have, but also sex workers in general. The world does not see that there's a whole life behind the profession. Their moms, their daughters, their sisters. And something that I really tied into Jackie's character is, the women who lost their lives in that shooting in Atlanta back during the pandemic, where the shooter basically went into an establishment. I think it was a massage parlor, and there were Asian workers in there, and he basically said that he did it because he felt compelled or imprisoned by their power of sexuality. And it's like, we're so much more than that. And for these women to have lost their lives because others choose to be blind to it is so heartbreaking, because they are just trying to pay bills as well. And they're trying to send money to their family or take care of their kids. Like, they're human. And I'm grateful that Jackie gets to be that bridge. So that's, yeah.
It's very, like you said, it's amazing to see. And I think the show does a great job across the board of giving light to stories that I don't want to say other shows are afraid to do, but like I'm thinking of the most recent episode that aired for the public with the dance where they're trying to teach Sean about kind of the history of slavery and why he can't use the N-word as a child and things like that. And I think this show does open a lot of doors of possibilities for stories that mainstream media hasn't touched or is almost afraid to. And I do love for both Lance and April, I love that your relationship is, while yes, Trisha's upset by it, it is a genuinely like sweet relationship to see, because it is, he's a banker, he is successful, he is what everyone would consider like, oh yes, this stand-up man, why is he with someone like Jackie who is a sex worker? But the show does not view it that way. The show views it as two people in love with each other. And that's really kind of refreshing. And so for you both, what is like your favorite part of like that dynamic and getting to explore that as two actors?
Oh, you want to go first, Lance?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that,
Okay.
Jackie. I really appreciate that, just bring more awareness to that. I think how the episode opens up, and like, she sees me dressed and we sit down and we have that conversation face to face and we're on the same level, and she's like talking to me and she's coaching me up. And I think that was a really special moment for us, as well as the end of the scene. But we have to get there, and I think it started off really sweet for us as performers. And me and Jackie getting to work together before doing the work before we get into set, just talking about the scene was very special for me.
Yeah, what I love about Jackie and Cuddy's storyline here is it's very Bay Area, and I know there are interracial relationships around the world too, but I feel like it's more so embraced here, and not as many people are against it. And in a time right now where there's so much division, there's a lot of Asian hate going on, and there's also a lot of dialogue happening around racism and people not understanding racism towards the Black community. And I'll be real, even between our own communities, there's still a lot of work to be done between the Asian community and the Black community. And even being in a place as progressive and as diverse here in Oakland, I still find moments where there's still so much work to be done. And I'm so grateful that even if we all together can't change the minds and the hearts of like previous generations because of all the trauma that had been put on them, at least there's still a chance that we can maybe change the minds and hearts of like the younger generation and the kids now, just seeing love normalized regardless of color, of backgrounds, of professions. Like there's room and space for that to be cultivated and accepted and normalized. And I love that this show really explores that between us.
Yeah, I love it a lot, even though if you guys do have kids, you would up the family height by about 2 feet, as
That
Dante
part
says
too. Yeah.
in the
That part,
episode.
that part.
That is about my time, and so I just want to say thank you guys so much. I do have to say, Dante, I owe my best friend an apology, because when I moved to California as a child from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, she said to me, "Oh, so you moved from Pittsburgh, California?" And I looked at her like she was nuts, because I had never heard of Pittsburgh, California before. And then I looked you up today and was like, after all of this time, I have to apologize.
Apologize to your friend. Apologize.
You had the same thing I had
Pittsburgh,
of him having a cousin, and you didn't think that Pittsburgh was a place. I feel your pain.
Hey,
I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. And also I didn't realize I did this. You were talking about like nostalgia and characters, and Steven Spielberg is great at that. And I'm wearing my Short Round shirt that I didn't realize that I had put on, and was like, I have to sit like this because I'm wearing a Short Round t-shirt.
Man, that's amazing.
I was like, a Spielberg, you're right. The nostalgic characters. It's been a great time to be alive with those kind of characters between this and like. But thank you guys so much for talking with me. I love this conversation very much, and I can't wait for everyone to get to see this episode and the rest of the season.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one.